Yeah.
And we are live. James the Idol Smasher with you, and this is Noah's Nest. Thank you for tuning in, and a happy Passover. Reuven Goldstein, our host and producer. We've got Reuven, Ermin, and Path of Abraham. We will be reading tonight, not the normal Parsha reading, because the holiday is the Passover will be on will start on Shabbat, on the Sabbath. So there is no Parsha reading. There is a reading that's read on Passover in Exodus, and it's the story of the Passover. So join along with us. It's we're in Parsha Bo. This is Shemos, Exodus, chapter 12, and it starts at verse 21. We go to 51. So we'll read it as usual, and then we'll comment on it, and we might even go to the second reading that's read as well. And if there are any questions or comments before we begin, then let us begin. Once again, if you want to follow along with us in your own Chumash, I will be reading from the Stone Edition, best study Bible out there, worth every penny, artscroll.com, and many other fine places. Okay, Exodus chapter 12, 21, and away we go. Moses called to the elders of Israel. Let me set the stage. We're in Egypt right now. This is in Exodus, and this is the last straw. Basically, this is the last. This is it. This is the final activity, if you will, before the actual Exodus. This is when it all comes crashing down for the Egyptians. So here we go. Moses called to all the elders of Israel and said to them, "Draw forth or buy for yourselves one of the flock of your families and slaughter the Pesach offering. You shall take a bundle of hyssop and dip it into blood that is in the basin, and touch the lintel and 2 doorposts with some of the blood that is in the basin. And as for you, no man shall leave the entrance of his house until morning. Hashem will pass through to smite Egypt, and he will see the blood that is on the lintel and the 2 doorposts, and Hashem will pass over the entrance, and he will not permit the destroyer to enter your houses to smite. You shall observe this manner as a decree for yourself and for your children forever. It shall be that when you come to the land that Hashem will give you, as he has spoken, you shall observe this service. And it shall be that when your children say to you, 'What is this service to you?' you shall say, 'It is a Pesach feast offering to Hashem, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt when he smote the Egyptians. But he saved our households.' And the people bowed their heads and prostrated themselves. The children of Israel went and did as Hashem commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they do. It was at midnight that Hashem smote every firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the first of Pharaoh sitting on his throne to the firstborn of the captive who was in the dungeon, and every firstborn animal. Pharaoh rose up at midnight, he and all his servants and all Egypt, and there was a great outcry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was no corpse. He called to Moses and Aaron at night and said, 'Rise up, go out from among my people, even you, even the children of Israel, go and serve Hashem as you have spoken. Take even your sheep and even your cattle as you have spoken, and go, and bless me as well.' Egypt imposed itself strongly upon the people to hasten to send them out of the land, for they said, 'We are all dying.' The people picked up its dough before it could become leavened, their leftovers bound up in their garments upon their shoulders. The children of Israel carried out the word of Moses, They requested from the Egyptians silver vessels, gold vessels, and garments. Hashem gave the people favor in the eyes of the Egyptians, and they granted their requests, so they emptied Egypt. The children of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Sukkoth, about 600,000 men on foot, aside from children. Also a mixed multitude went up with them, and flock and cattle, very much livestock. They baked the dough that they took out of Egypt into unleavened cakes, for they could not be leavened, for they were driven out from Egypt before they could not delay, nor had they made provisions for themselves. The habitation of the children of Israel during which they dwelled in Egypt was 450 years. It was at the end of 430 years, and it was upon that very day that all the legions of Hashem left the land of Egypt. It was a night of anticipation for Hashem to take them out of the land of Egypt. This was the night for Hashem, a protection for all the children of Israel for their generations. Hashem said to Moses and Aaron, "This is the decree of the Pesach offering. No alienated person may eat it. Every slave of a man who is bought for money, you shall circumcise him, then he may eat. The sojourner and a hired laborer may not eat. In one house shall it be eaten. You shall not remove any of the meat from the house to the outside, and you shall not break a bone in it. The entire assembly of Israel shall perform it. When a proselyte sojourns among you, he shall make the Pesach offering for Hashem. Each of his males shall be circumcised, and then he may draw near to perform it, and he shall be like the native of the land. No uncircumcised male may eat of it. One law shall there be for the native and the proselyte who lives among you." All the children of Israel did as Hashem had commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they do. It happened on that very day, Hashem took the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt in their legions.
Thank you.
Passover is one of the few that's actually of the holiday, or one of the holidays that's commanded by God that it be done forever. Sabbath is one, the Shabbat, there's Pesach, Passover, and then Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, I believe.
Okay. Something that confused me just a little bit this time around was, it seems like the slaves could not take or they couldn't eat, but the Pasha, I don't know what it said, could?
Now say that again?
Don't even worry about it, because I don't know what verse it was, so it makes it difficult.
You got a little bit of an echo, James. Kind of hard to hear what Emir's asking.
It's always something, isn't it?
I'm such a pain, I'm sorry.
This reminds me of James because it's very much reminiscent of the Abraham parable about smashing the idols, because like the whole concept of the Paschal sacrifice is exactly that. It's idol smashing, because they're taking, at least traditionally speaking, like the symbolism behind it is they're taking an Egyptian god, they're slaughtering it to their god. Like that's complete dominion and destruction, saying like, who's that you're saying your god's big, like, so like that's like the whole concept of the Paschal sacrifice. And it's very interesting because it's on a base level, it's kind of like the idea like it's idol smashing, but on the deeper level it's preparing the people. It's getting them removed from Egyptian culture and Egyptian mindset. Even because if we remember correctly, if you read in the full account, even the non-Jews did it too. So the non-Jews that were or the non-Hebrews, I guess at that point, the non-Hebrews also did it. So this idea of complete rejection of idolatrous culture and embracing of God, and then later they go are called the mixed multitude, and they go with the Hebrews. But what's interesting is about this is because we know that only two-thirds of the Hebrews stayed in Egypt. Only 1/3 left. Something around those numbers. And it's to teach that it's you need to do that kind of idol smashing before you can endeavor to change, to go on that journey. So you gotta reject stuff in order to embrace and become a better person.
And that's a full rejection.
Yeah.
I mean, they ate this, consumed it.
Every last drop.
I like the commentary Reuven has on the screen.
Would you read it out loud? Someone?
It's commentary for there was no house in which no one was dead. If there was a house, if there was a firstborn, he was dead. If there was no firstborn, the oldest member of the household who was called firstborn. As it is said, I too shall make him, David, a firstborn. Rashi explains that I shall make him great. Another explanation says some Egyptian women were unfaithful to their husbands and bore children from bachelors. Thus they too had many firstborns. Sometimes a woman who had 5, each of one of the firstborns of the father. So so you're saying there was some Egyptian women had 5 sugar daddies? Man.
Well, obviously not too sweet, but yeah, wow.
And that was from Rashi.
Gives you meaning to the phrase, who your baby daddy?
There was, in the very first verse of the reading, draw forth. Hirsch renders withdraw, homiletically. Hirsch renders withdraw from the errors of your past and accept the new values of submission to God, which are symbolized by docile, submissive lambs and kids. Draw forth or buy of yourselves, of the flock of your families.
You were saying that there's another holiday called what is it, Yom Kippur?
Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the last.
And may I ask when that takes place?
Around September.
Yeah, it depends on the year, but around September.
There's Rosh Hashanah, 10 days, then Yom Kippur. It's 10 days, right?
The reason I say that is just very interesting how, people always argue, I hear atheists argue all the time how it really is when you're trying to get somebody to convert to the newest and latest religion, you kind of take on some of their traditions and ideas, and with that, taking, or at least keeping some of your holidays similar to the days that were theirs. Because there's no reason why we celebrate Christmas when we do. And I'm not into, well, I guess at least Easter makes some sense. But I just thought it was profound anyway, that's all. And I'll shut up, but that's my last reference to Christianity tonight.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, you're right. Even you don't call it the Resurrection Day, you call it Easter, which is a pagan god.
Yeah.
You know,
You should be more like the Orthodox.
We should.
The Jewiest of all Christian religions. I heard that said yesterday, and I thought, wow.
And when you think about it, though, both of them are celebrating like a renewal, like being saved from something. Do you know what I mean? Both holidays.
They're both redemptive in nature.
Absolutely.
Fair enough.
And then out of it comes like a new set of rules, a new set of whatever.
It says Pharaoh was the only firstborn to be spared.
Yeah, I remember that because we had that big discussion.
So that he could tell all the world about God's greatness. The Egyptian firstborn died because they had persecuted the Jews. Those of the captives died because they enjoyed Jewish suffering, or so that they would not be able to claim that their idols had protected them. The plague struck down not only those who were known to be firstborn, but also the eldest children of men who lived with women other than their wives. In a country as licentious as Egypt, this meant that a woman could have had many firstborn, whose paternity was known only to God. In addition, if there were no firstborn in a house, the oldest member of the house died. This is why the next verse states that there's a dead person in every house,
Mm-hmm.
and why the Egyptians could think that they were all dying. The fam's here. Say hi, honey.
Bye. So these weren't firstborn sons. These were firstborn of every household, correct? Yeah. Now, does it ever make any reference that there were people of the Jewish faith that did not put the blood on the lentil and the posts?
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, does it make reference to that?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. But at the end of the Exodus story, like right before they leave, it says that majority of them didn't leave. So.
Whoa! I did not hear that. I don't remember.
It's one line, but it says that, and in Jewish tradition, it's 2/3 of the people stayed in Egypt, and in like the whole Exodus account is only 1/3 of all the Hebrews that were in Egypt.
Because somebody said at the time.
And a bunch of Gentiles as well. But.
Right, yeah. Wow.
That blows my mind.
But that's a constant theme of like the Torah narrative, is this idea of like it's so easy to get caught up in like in Hebrew it's like sheker, it's like falsehood and stupidity that you get left behind. And like the whole narrative of the Torah is like this idea of like people are innately stiff-necked or hard-hearted, and it takes an Exodus experience to change oneself to be on a higher level. But
it's so fascinating to me because God had just sent forth how many plagues?
Yeah.
Right? And even, this is after it, but even when we start wandering in the desert and stuff, it was just miracle after miracle that had to be performed for some people to continue believing.
But it's kind of like I was taught a good analogy because like in one of the set prayers it says God, the Lord, for all the miracles that you do for us every day, evening, morning, and midday. And so every day we say that, recognizing that there's like grand miracles happening around us, sustaining us. Like I guess even the concept of like, your heart beating as much as it does, as regularly does, is like a miracle within itself, considering all these people who have heart issues or something. So like, we could say like, how could they not see these grand miracles? How could they not just get it? But somebody else could look at us and be like, how do they just not see like the amazingness around them? I think it's a great narrative on that aspect. It's right in front of you, but like we don't see it because of ego, which is also related to Passover because of not eating leavens related to destruction of the ego.
An arrogant man inflates himself before his neighbor. I know it was made into a religion, but the Passover table as apparently what was going on in that Last Supper thing. And I think when you have an understanding of that, the whole narrative of that makes sense. And he was, I don't know if he was actually adding to a commandment. It's possible, but the unleavened bread represents humility. And the blood at a Passover table, the wine is poured for everybody, and there's also a place set for Elijah. And there's also supposed to be one for the fifth son, isn't there?
I don't do that.
Okay.
I think I know. I've heard it. Yeah. So.
They have the wine, and you have to dip your finger in the wine and make 10 drops of wine, which becomes blood at that point for every plague.
Yeah.
And you remember all the blood that was shed for your freedom, and only then do you drink the wine.
I'm sorry. Okay. Who's Elijah again?
Elijah was a prophet that he stood up against like 450 priests of Baal all by himself, and they like had a standoff with slaughtering an offering.
Okay.
And it's like if your God wins, if your God's the true God, then he'll accept the sacrifice and fire will come down from heaven. Didn't happen. He said, if the God of Israel is the true God, then fire will come down from heaven and he'll take my offering, and that's what happened, obviously. So. One, and then his other claim to fame is that he didn't die and he was taken up.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's what I remember.
So yeah, a drop of blood for every plague, and then you drink the wine.
And the idea of like why you're dropping specifically wine out is because it's you're reducing your joy, because like even though plagues and hardship came on the enemy, you're still not supposed to rejoice in even your enemy's downfall.
It's interesting. So we had unleavened bread, and we have wine, and I get what they represent now. What else do you have at Passover?
Sheep, a lamb, supposed to be, but we don't really do that anymore.
Really?
Technical, yeah. Well, you can, but not. Everybody's supposed to when there's a temple, but there's no temple, so. But lambs, yeah, symbolic at least, we still have lamb. And then there's a thing called paroset, which is it's a mixture of, the way I make it, it's nuts, like a walnut or an almond, dates, figs. I put in a little bit of maple syrup and then cinnamon, and then you blend it all up, and it's kind of like a paste, and that's supposed to represent the brick mortar. And then you have one bitter herb, and the bitter herb's supposed to, symbolize the bitterness of the slavery. And then you have one fresh green, which is, sorry.
What's the bitter herb? That looks like parsley.
Oh, well, this one's different. I don't do this one, but in this one, I think the bitter herb's the parsley, and they dip it in salt water, I think. Or no, it's maybe the horseradish.
Oh, okay.
I went to my Passover. It was similar to this. I don't know what the lettuce represented though. The bitter herbs.
I don't do the egg.
They mixed horseradish. We had brisket, by the way, at ours. And a lot of non-Jews showed up for the Seder too. But they had the meat. Then we had what they did was they took apples, walnuts, and horseradish, and mixed it with wine. Isn't that weird?
Yep.
The parsley, the one that hit me like a brick, man. You dip the parsley in the salt water.
And it doesn't have to be parsley. It can be other stuff.
But
it
you
can?
Tell me that's all you have to eat after a whole day. Wait, don't you?
No.
Oh.
This isn't. No, this is a. Oh, I guess this is hard to explain. So, like, what happens? The Torah says that there's a commandment in Torah that says you have to recount the Exodus. You have to tell it to your children in all generations. So what happens on Passover night is there's a whole I don't know how you describe it. There's a whole structured service
okay.
at home that every family has, where everybody's gathered around the table, and there's a book we read called the Haggadah, which is it's a map on how you recount the Exodus experience, and there's all these symbolic actions and foods we eat, but and this all happens before you actually have the main meal. So this plate comes out, and in different communities it'll look a little bit different. You have like different flavors and stuff, but each one symbolically represents something, and you eat them, and while you're recounting the Exodus story.
Okay.
And it takes probably, depending on the traditions, this probably takes about an hour and a half to like 3 hours to complete, and then you eat. And then you eat dinner.
So what is that root-looking thing?
That's horseradish.
Ew.
So what you're supposed to have is you're supposed to have a bitter herb, haroset, which is the mortar, like the shank bone, and another green. That's what you're supposed to have. And then you can add other stuff, and all those things is dependent on how you want to make it. So like some people have endives, or they'll have kale, and everybody makes their haroset differently, and yeah.
But
it's just they're symbolic foods. That's all. That's what matters. The symbolism.
No. I appreciate. I could sit around and chill for an hour and a half or 3 hours on the symbolism, but no, I'm not even kidding. That's really cool. But what I want to know, and I'm being a little trollish when I say this, is there anybody who's whatever is just off the chain good? How do you say it?
Haggadah.
Haggadah is just incredible. Besides yours, of course.
Oh, haroset?
Oh, is haroset the nut thing?
Yeah. I don't know. There's so many different recipes from like around the world. It's crazy. There's so many different kinds. I haven't even had like a fraction.
Okay. I just thought that you know.
You can like Google it and find like a billion.
I might do that if I can remember how to spell it as soon as I leave this hangout.
Oh, somebody should put it in.
Somebody did put it in. I think I'm gonna. If someone cannot type for a moment, I just want to copy paste. Oh, CH. Okay. Thanks, Reuven. I'm gonna put it in our chat, but again, don't worry about it.
The thing that hit me about the Passover Seder, and when it really hit me what was going on, because I already had faith, if you will, or I was already very, very. This was during the time when I was actually seriously considering conversion. They take the parsley, dip it in salt water, and then eat it, and that represents the tears. But it really it tasted like the tears that come out of my eye that I've known the taste all my life. It was a little surprising, a little spooky. The egg, I think, we just had it up there. It was the more you cook it, the harder it gets.
Oh, I get it.
Huh. Yeah, the children kind of started off too. I know that started off.
I'll show you what mine's kind of looks like. One
Okay.
second. I steal a picture from a friend.
Abby, you found a Moroccan charoset recipe that was amazing, but you can't find it now? Oh.
I can't find it. I usually email myself the recipes that I like. This was before. And I went to look for it because the last couple of years my husband decided to make it his own, and I don't like how it tastes. And now I can't find it in my email. So, and I'm not seeing it on Google. Kind of a sad thing right now.
Okay. Can somebody click on that and share the picture from Path? All right, I'll do it.
Bloody heck. Good. Now I'm opening up.
Oh, wow. All right, I'll share it. That's fast, dude. That looks great. Oh, that's so pretty. I like your presentation. It looks so much better than the, I'm sorry, no offense, than the other person with the 6 little.
It's not mine specifically, but mine's the same style.
Okay. Very earthy, very like, that's really cool.
Try to find one more.
Is soft matzah pita?
No, soft matzah is not pita. No. It's very it's in the sense that they're both soft, but it's not as nice as pita. It's still not. It's much better than cracker matzahs, but it's still not as good as bread.
You know what I have a great recipe for are macaroons.
Macaroons.
Aren't they what they're called? They're unleavened.
Yeah. Macaroons. You're right.
And
I was just surprised. I've never heard anybody say that before.
oh, they're coconutty. You don't. They're great. Oh. You don't hear people. Oh, okay. I could talk about food all day long. I love cooking. It's like American, but it's macaroon. I'm just kidding. A macaroon is it is a cookie, and it's made out of coconut, a little bit of egg, and powdered sugar, pretty much.
It's big on Passover because it obviously contains no flour.
Yeah.
It's like a dessert.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different style.
No, that's different. That's Let's see if I can find a picture of a macaroon.
I think of macaroons are like swirly, right? That's when I think of a macaroon. It's like it kind of looks like a Hershey's Kiss.
This is mine. It's the coconut macaroon. That's just what I make. Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I actually make them at the Christmas type, the winter holidays.
If you ever do get the chance to attend a Passover Seder, it might change the way you think about things. It did me. It really did.
Yeah, you're probably right, but I haven't.
The best ones are the ones with kids. It's very fun with kids, yeah. Because it's very interactive.
Yeah, I bet. You're probably right, yeah. Yeah.
My kids are doomed.
Of
Of course, we have to have the birthday up north with the family, the Christian family. So I'm taking my 7-iron,
Oh,
and I'm gonna hit me a few Easter eggs.
it's terrible. Those are Easter eggs that your kids won't be able to eat.
We'll smash them to bits. Every Passover, or every Easter, whatever, I find one. I'm always giving one. Today I was giving some at work. If it had a bunny on it or it was in the shape of an egg, won't eat it.
I'm telling you right now, just be glad you don't have to eat marshmallow peeps. Those things are horrid.
Peeps are pretty good.
Oh. I guess I just don't like that much sugar. I think it was the consistency. I could feel them on my teeth, rotting my teeth away. You know what I mean? Just that sugary, soft crunch. Oh, like Lucky Charms. I never liked that cereal because of those marshmallowy things on my. Oh gosh.
Thank you, Pat.
Okay.
I hope we don't scare. Of course, I always think I scare people off.
Yeah, we had a few people got scared. Are we gonna move to the second reading, or?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Shall I read? Okay, I guess I'm reading. We are continuing reading for all you fine folks out there in YouTubeville. If you happen to be watching this live on Google Plus and you'd like to join us, this will be in. I opened this up to the wrong chapter. This is Leviticus 9.
Whoa. Reuven
No.
posted Leviticus 22,
22.
26
Apologies.
through 23, 44.
I'm on the wrong. See, I'm on the Parsha for next week.
Leviticus 22.
This is actually going ahead a little bit, actually.
Yeah.
It's neat how it works out too. 20. All right, 22. 26 through 33. No, okay. Oh, 22, 26. This is Leviticus 22, 26 through chapter 23, verse 44.
Correct.
Little chunk of reading. Okay, now I can get my head straight. I had it open to the wrong one.
Wait, did you?
Huh?
This is gonna be long. Okay. I'm ready.
Let's get to it. Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, when an ox or a sheep or a goat is born, it shall remain under its mother for 7 days, and from the 8th day on it is acceptable for a fire offering to Hashem. Am I on the right one? I guess so, yes. But an ox or a sheep or a goat, you may not slaughter it and its offspring on the same day. When you slaughter a feast thanksgiving offering to Hashem, you shall slaughter it to gain favor for yourselves. It must be eaten on the same day. You shall not leave any of it until the morning. I am Hashem. You shall observe my commandments and perform them. I am Hashem. You shall not desecrate my holy name. Rather, I should be sanctified among the children of Israel. I am Hashem who sanctifies you, who took you out of the land of Egypt to be a God unto you. I am Hashem. Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, Hashem's appointed festivals that are to designate as holy convocations, these are my appointed festivals. For 6 days labor may be done. On the 7th day is a day of complete rest, a holy convocation. You shall not do any work. It is a Sabbath for Hashem in all your dwelling places. These are the appointed these are the appointed festivals of Hashem, the holy convocations which you shall designate in their appropriate time. In the first month, on the 14th of the month, in the afternoon, is the time of the Pesach offering to Hashem. And on the 15th day of this month is the festival of Matzos to Hashem. You shall eat matzos for a 7-day period. On the first day there shall be a holy convocation for you. You shall not do laborious work. You shall bring a fire offering to Hashem for a 7-day period. On the 7th day shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no laborious work. Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, children, speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, when you shall enter the land, that I give you, and you reap its harvest, you shall bring an omer from your first harvest to the Cohen. He shall wave the omer before Hashem to gain favor for you, and the morrow of the day the Cohen shall wave it. On the day you wave the omer, you shall perform the service of an unblemished lamb in its first year as an elevation offering to Hashem. Its meal offering shall be 2/10 ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, a fire offering to Hashem, a satisfying aroma, and its libation shall be wine, a quarter hin. You shall not eat your bread or roasted kernels or plump kernels until this very day, until you bring the offering of your God. It is an eternal decree for your generations in all your dwelling places. You shall count for yourselves from the marrow of the rest day, from the day when you bring the omer of the waving, 7 weeks they shall complete. Until the morrow of the 7th week you shall count 50 days, and you shall offer a new meal offering to Hashem. From your dwelling places you shall bring bread that shall be waved, 2 loaves made of 2/10 ephah, and they shall be of fine flour. They shall be baked leavened, first offerings to Hashem. When the bread you shall offer, with the bread you shall offer 7 unblemished lambs in the first year, 1 young bull and 2 rams. They shall be an elevation offering to Hashem with their meal offering and their libations, a fire offering, a satisfying aroma to Hashem. You shall make 1 he-goat as a sin offering, and 2 lambs in their first year as peace offerings. The Kohen shall wave them upon the first offering breads as a wave service before Hashem. Upon the 2 sheep they shall be holy for Hashem and for the Kohen. You shall convoke on this very day. There shall be a holy convocation for yourselves. You shall do no laborious work. It is an eternal decree with your dwelling places for your generations. When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not remove completely the corners of your field. As you reap, you shall not gather the gleanings of your harvest. For the poor and the proselyte shall you leave them. I am Hashem, your God. Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, there shall be a rest day for you, a remembrance with shofar blasts, a holy convocation. You shall not do any laborious work. You shall offer a fire offering to Hashem. Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, But on the 10th day of this 7th month, it is the day of atonement. There shall be a holy convocation for you. This is Yom Kippur, which you were asking about earlier. You shall afflict yourselves. You shall offer a fire offering to Hashem. You shall do no work on this very day, for it is the day of atonement, to provide you atonement before Hashem, your God. For any soul who will not be afflicted on this very day will be cut off from his people. And any soul who will do any work on this very day, I will destroy that soul from among its people. You shall not do any work. It is an eternal decree throughout your generations in all your dwelling places. It is a day of complete rest for you, and you shall afflict yourselves. On the 9th of the month in the evening, from evening to evening, you shall rest on your rest day. Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, On the 15th day of this 7th month is the festival of Sukkos, a 7-day period for Hashem. On the 1st day is a holy convocation. You shall not do any laborious work. For a 7-day period you shall offer a fire offering to Hashem. On the 8th day there shall be a holy convocation for you, and you shall offer a fire offering to Hashem. It is an assembly. You shall not do any laborious work. There are the appointed festivals of Hashem that you shall proclaim as holy convocations, to offer a fire offering to Hashem, an elevation offering, and its meal offering. a feast offering and its libation, each day's requirement on its day, aside from Hashem's Sabbaths, and aside from your gifts, aside from your vows, and aside from all your free will offerings which you will present to Hashem. But on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you gather in the crop of the land, you shall celebrate Hashem's festival for a 7-day period. The first day is a rest day, and the eighth day is a rest day. You shall take for yourselves on the first day of the fruit of a citron tree, the branches of date palms, twigs of a plaited tree, a brook willows, and you shall rejoice before Hashem your God for a 7-day period. You shall celebrate it as a festival for Hashem, a 7-day period in the year, an eternal decree for your generations. In the 7th month shall you celebrate it. You shall dwell in booths for a 7-day period. Every native in Israel shall dwell in booths. So that your generations will know that I caused the children of Israel to dwell in booths, that I took them from the land of Egypt. I am Hashem your God. And Moses declared the appointed festivals of Hashem to the children of Israel.
Very well, very nicely done. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
I was gonna say welly again. I've been keep saying very welly done. I don't know why he keeps saying that. Very nicely done. That's what I meant to say.
Welly, 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 well. I hear that. You're starting a new trend, man. Like, sick was the thing. There was a time when bad meant good, Now you can be welly. Ooh, that's welly good. Thank you, Abby. So those are the holidays. I mentioned earlier that there are some that are commanded. This is one that is commanded. I've never read this part of Parsha Emor before at Passover. This was a first for me. I didn't know that would be spelled out later in the evening when I stated
this commentary for verse 43. It says, "I had the children of Israel live in booths. These were the clouds of glory with which God enveloped the Jewish people in a desert, forming a protective shelter for them amongst the wild beasts and enemies." See Numbers chapter 10, verse 34.
I was going to build a makeshift Sukkot one year. Everybody in our class was making one. Not everybody, but a good deal of them. I was in an apartment complex, though, and they weren't going to let me build one. And I thought about going down to the Chabad or house and following a Jew home to a Sukkot, knocking on the door. Remember how it said that the strangers from far away would come eat with you in your Sukkot and you talk about God? I'm here. Pass the food. I thought about a surprise. Oh, wow, look at that. That is so awesome. That's so cool. See, I could build a Sukkot this year. And yeah, you eat out there. You spend a good deal of your day there. Of course, you don't cook the food in there. I'm not sure if you sleep in them too as well, correct?
Wow.
That's the closest thing the Jews do to camping.
I heard that one.
Abby wants to know if you're inviting.
Am I inviting? I'm not an Israelite, though. Now, when Reuven builds his, if it's raining very badly.
I like the way Jewish people camp. And their exclusions. But rain sucks, weather sucks, you can go inside.
There's the neat thing is you build a sukkot shaped like a letter. I think it's either it's a chet or what is it? It's a chet or a or is it a bet and a chet? There's certain shapes. It's 3 Hebrew letters. You can make one in. I can't remember at the moment. That's funny. A tet and a pay. Ah, yeah. I miss my hat. These hot Oklahoma summers just don't go well with a stocking cap. Now that's interesting. What is that? You can't tell me that's a Sukkot. Futuristic Sukkah. Or Sukkah. Wow. Cornucopia Sukkah. Not sure if that's shaped like a Hebrew letter. But then again, I've seen Hebrew letters shaped all kinds of ways. The festivals, including the Sabbath, are referred to continuously as appointed times, because they are special days when Jews meet, as it were, with God. Hirsch puts it, Moedim, appointed seasons, summon us to submit ourselves entirely to the contemplation and inner realization of those ideas which lie at their foundation, just as Moed in space refers to the locality which men have as their appointed place of assembly for an appointed purpose, such as the Ohel Moed and the tent of meeting, Ohel Moed, the tent of meeting. So Moed in time is a point in which summons us continually to an appointed activity. It is the case, in this case, an inner activity. Thus Moedim are the days which stand out from the other days of the year. They summon us from our everyday life to halt and dedicate all our spiritual activities to them. From this point of view, Sabbath and Yom Kippur are also Moedim. The Moedim interrupt the ordinary activities of our life and give us the spirit, power, and consecration for the future by revivifying those ideas upon which our whole life is based, or they eradicate such evil consequences of past activity as are deadly to body and spirit, and thus restore us to lost purity and the hope of blessing. The months are counted from Nisan as a constant reminder of the Exodus.
Oh, well, the Hangout's up on the top of the Google Hangouts. Must be getting quite a lot of views, huh, Reuven? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, James. It's the first time I noticed that. That's good. Those who are watching, please comment, rate, and subscribe. Be part of the conversation. Join the B'nai Noah community out here on Google Plus if you want. Add Reuven Goldstein to his YouTube channel or Google Plus page. Search Noah's Nest if you want to know our weekly study.
You can find our studies on Reuven's page. I also put them up on my page at TheIdolSmasher. If you like what you see, feel free.
Every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern.
So there were Jews who stayed behind in Egypt, and there were non-Jews who left with Israel. Or
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Don't stay behind like the Jews in Egypt. Make sure you click on the link and join us in the Hangout right now as we talk about it. Don't get left behind.
It's easier to pull the Israelite out of Egypt than Egypt out of the Israelite. Would those people who stayed behind in Egypt, would they lose out on their heritage since the marriage took place at Sinai? It would seem like they would just blend in with the rest of Egypt. They would be bred out. I hate to say it like that, but it's a contested issue. Abby says they would remain Noachide.
They're still children of Abraham, though, right? So, James?
Yeah.
So.
But still, even after all that, all the plagues, all that everybody went through, everything they witnessed.
Well, building pyramids are probably a whole lot easier than studying Torah, so probably what they were thinking.
Reuven says over here in the chat, he says the book of Daniel says that the tongue of the Canaanites would be spoken in Egyptians' main cities. It would be that the Egyptians, it could be that the Egyptians themselves are now descended primarily from these people.
That's a nice connection there.
I have a waking baby. I'll be right back.
I guess this is intermission. Reuven posted in the side chat here, in that day 5 cities in the land of Egypt will be speaking the language of the Canaan and swear an allegiance to the Lord of hosts. One will be called the city of destruction. Isaiah 19:18.
Hello, all you fine folks. My baby girl. You gotta show her off. Huh? Big improvement, huh? That's my baby girl. Fortunately, Mama just got home, so she'll be able to take care of her in case somebody decides they want to get talkative and loud and want to do lots of complaining. Baby crying used to annoy the living tar out of me, and now it's like a joyous sound. It doesn't bother me near as much as it used to. After about 15 minutes, it can get on your nerves, but it really doesn't bother me anymore. No. Oh yeah, Omar, I want to look this up. It is the name of a dry measure containing a volume of 43.2 average eggs. It is the amount of flour that must be brought, and is also the name by which the offering is known. Although the Omer offering permitted all 5 species of grain for general use, grain of the new crop could not be used for temple offerings until the 2 breads offering, 50 days later, described below. By its very nature, the physical work in the fields leads one to forget his spiritual nature. The Torah therefore surrounded the farmer's chores with commandments, so that he would remain conscious of his true purpose. At the beginning of the harvest, the nation offers the Omar to the 2 breads, and the 2 breads when he harvests. The farmer must leave the gleanings and a corner for the poor, again making him realize that the crop is not his own. This explains why the latter commandments are included in this chapter, which otherwise deals only with the festivals. I thought that was interesting. Microphone and a baby at the same time. I blew a shofar once. It was over
Did
at
you take
Pam
the
and Larry's
shofar
house.
challenge?
No, it was when Pam and Larry were in the process of converting. They had a Rosh Hashanah meal, and I brought the pomegranate. Nobody could find a pomegranate. They live kind of out in the sticks, and real nice neighborhood too. But Oklahoma City couldn't find a pomegranate, so I was able to go find some kosher pomegranate jelly at a natural food store in town. So I got to actually contribute. I'll be right back. Somebody wants Mama.
Welcome to the room, Lindsay Lou. Howdy, howdy. How's your day?
I just dropped $300 on groceries.
Sounds pretty good.
But at least,
Sounds like you'll be well
I
fed
have
for the week.
food now.
Hangout was about Passover. We read the Bible, chapters and verses that pertain to it. Nothing much happening. Is there anything left on the programming, Reuven, for the Hangout? Take care, Abby. Be well. Ermine has to get going too soon. She has stuff to do.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm an early bird
That's
tonight.
okay.
We really appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Take care. Have a nice day. Have a nice rest of the day. Nice night.
Night.
I was gonna suggest, Reuven, I know the weekly reading is a little dry. It's dietary laws. Do you want to like close out this hangout and maybe reopen another hangout, read it, just me and James and Lindsay? Because I, to be honest with you, I don't see next week 2 readings going over too well. Let me check to see if there's any comments, questions. Doesn't look like there are. Okay, it's not a duel. Okay, cool. That's fine. That's what I said last week. I said, doesn't that happen? And everyone was like, no. So I was like, all right. Okay. No arguing. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming by. Thank you for watching. This was Noah's Nest, successor to Noachide Nexus. If you want to be a part of the programming, subscribe to Reuven Goldstein on Google Plus or YouTube. The link will always be in the description or event page. It's a weekly Torah study aimed towards Noachides, B'nai Noah, Gentiles, but you get all sorts of people in here: Christian, Muslims, Jews, atheists, the like. So if you want to come in, come by. Take care.